Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, may I have your attention, please? Are you ready to engage in a mind-blowing experience and hear talks about life, technology, entertainment, and business? The next episode of HIPTHER Talks starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
For those joining the live stream on LinkedIn, welcome. And for those that are listening to this podcast, also welcome. I have here Péter W, Szabó, founder and CEO of Tengr.ai artificial intelligence company. All around great guy. We live in the same city, but we're doing this virtually, so it's very weird. So, Péter, for those who don't know you, just give a short introduction of yourself, and then we dive into AI.
Thank you so much. And yes, it's a bit weird, but I think after so many virtual meetings with people literally next door in the COVID years, I think that's becoming the new norm. So it's also much more comfortable to many people. Again, I'm really happy to be here. About me, well, I have over 15 years of experience in creating UX and front-end products to improve the user experience of customers for different big brands and companies. I used to be the senior manager for UX UI front-end at the Stars Group, which is now Maya Incorporated. And after I moved back from London to Transylvania, Romania, I started my own business, Acetech, which I managed to successfully exit last year, at the end of last year. And after that, I just couldn't stay put, I guess. And I started a new startup, Tengr.ai by the name, which is focusing on solving artificial intelligence problems, creating better experiences for the users as always, but now with the help of different AI solutions. And more importantly, as the first milestone, we are trying to solve image generation, ad generation, all sorts of imagery creation, which normally took a long time. It involved Adobe Photoshop, it involved the graphic designers. We are trying to solve that with AI and trying to just make everyone's lives a bit easier when creating marketing content or just your every social media post or advertising or whatever, really just with AI.
All right. So Péter is not a strange figure of our podcast because he has been here. I think you already had an episode with Jasper. So it's not a stranger to our audience. So most people were looking forward to hear from you, and especially this new project. But I have a question for you. What does Tengr.ai mean?
Well, when I was looking for a name for the new company at the end of last year, I wanted to find something where I can buy the domain for both the .ai ending, which is now common for artificial intelligence software, and also the .com together. So I managed to get Tengr.ai.com and Tengr.ai.
All right.
And I wanted to find something which has a bit of uniqueness, because I also wanted it to have a trademark and not just some generic name. And it comes from Tengri, and Tengri was the pre-Christianity god of the steppe people for the ancient Turks, the Huns, the Magyar tribes, and things like that. So more or less, the the Eastern European pre-Christianity pantheon was ruled by Tengr, and of course it was a good choice because Tengr commonly had the adjective of blue and majestic, so the brand color of being sky blue was kind of decided there. So it was a good coincidence, and it's not as common as Zeus or Odin or Thor or whatever pantheon you can think of. It's a rarely used pantheon.
All right. So and you mentioned that with virtual conferences, it's nice to have virtual backgrounds, and I guess your virtual background, for those who are just listening on this podcast, just head over to our YouTube channel. It's probably generated by AI, right? All right.
Yes, indeed, that's true, and it also showcases one of the differences our image generation solution has to, let's say, Midjourney, which is probably known by some people, or DALL-E 2, is that if you give it shapes, it will generate a very closely resembling artwork with that shape. So in this case, we gave the shape of the logo, of the Tengr.ai logo, and also telling it to create a futuristic city where humans live in a closer connection with nature, while also being kind of a high-tech sci-fi city, but not like a dystopian future, but a more positive future, which I hope it will become true, where I kind of like where Singapore or Dubai is going at the moment: more green, more plants, more air, and less pollution, no cars, and things like that.
All right. So let's dive into these questions today. And first, I'd like to ask about the common uses and applications in AI. So what are the common uses and application of AI?
I think in this year we have AI pretty much everywhere, but when you put it like the most common, if you think about the most commonly referred or understood as AI, that's probably the personal assistants, because Amazon Alexa or the Google Assistant or Siri is commonly known as the AI. So I think personal assistants paved the way for the acceptance of AI and kind of the basic understanding of the majority of the population of what an AI is. But I think the most common use case today is in fraud detection, because almost all financial institutions that I can think of, even in sub-Saharan Africa or wherever you can think of in the world, all the fintechs will use some sort of AI for fraud detection, and not just fintechs, but in many areas of the world. That's fairly common today. I would also say that image and speech recognition is abundant from the very advanced facial recognition employed by governments, such as in China, but also in many places, really, from things like social media platforms. They use image recognition where they tag your photos. Google does it since years. It also has a lot of different implications when it comes to privacy and security and things like that. But also, fortunately, healthcare is one of the industries where not just diagnosis and medical imaging analysis, but recently even treatment planning is something that's commonly associated with AI and solved with AI. Even like 2 or 3 years ago, in analyzing X-ray images, AI was used, and now it's they say it's better than the most experienced medical professionals in the field. But also customer service, retail. There are many examples of AI used in different industries. And as a summary, I say that AI can and will be used in pretty much all industries very soon.
All right. So somebody, Daniel on LinkedIn is commenting that I think between AI and machine learning, there's a huge difference, and people are calling a lot of machine learning as AI. But we will get to that a bit later because we have this question in the list. But while researching for our interview, I saw something about intelligent agents, which is very like a very matrix-like calling. So what are these intelligent agents and how are they used in AI?
Actually, intelligent agents are with us since quite a while ago. And it's a generic term for a program that makes decisions or performs a service based on the environment and user input, and recently with the advancement of machine learning, also with some sort of learning. So those programs are used to gather information either regularly due to some programmed schedule or whatever, or when prompted by a user. And then when they gather all that information, which can be anything really from radar imagery to things like social media posts or the temperature in a boiler or whatever you can think of. So they generally try to gather information about the environment and the user inputs, and then they do something based on it. And this is not very interesting today. What made them much more interesting is the new generation of intelligent agents, which are usually known as learning agents, which ideally operate in an unknown environment, and through learning, they become more and more competent than the initial knowledge might allow it. So this is the path where they learn more and more about the environment. And the environment can be anything, really. It can be all the images in a very large image data set, which they would think as the whole world. So for a learning agent, the quote unquote world can be just billions of images, or it can be billions and billions of lines of text gathered from the internet or whatever. But of course, it can be the real world itself. And then we are getting near something like we saw in most sci-fi movies, where there is a robot which explores the world, learns from it, and then it gets some commands from the humans and does what the human tells them to do, instead of just being pre-programmed to do some procedural things, like a car manufacturing robot is usually pre-programmed, not really learning from the environment.
All right. So to our viewers and listeners, this is just like a crash course into artificial intelligence, because we're going to talk about a lot of terms today, like TensorFlow. So what is TensorFlow and what is it used for?
TensorFlow is, well, it's still a deep learning framework, but recently it really fell from grace. When I started working with machine learning, TensorFlow was one of the two big frameworks, and because it was coming from Google, people were hoping that TensorFlow could could put AI into every software. It could enable people to create really good machine learning models with relative ease. Of course, it's a free open source software library, which could also mean that it could make machine learning a more open, more democratic solution, not just something done by governments or by really big companies with infinite amounts of money, but anyone could just sit down with a bit of coding knowledge in Python and just start writing machine learning code, which it did. But among the two big popular frameworks, PyTorch and TensorFlow, since 2020, but probably 2019 is a better cut-off date, PyTorch became more and more popular and arguably better and better, and now it's we are at a point where PyTorch is dominating the field of the frameworks so much that it doesn't even feel like there are two popular deep learning frameworks today. Instead, it's just PyTorch everywhere. Just to give you a really accurate number, now over 90% of machine learning models publicly available based on Hugging Face, which is the biggest machine learning model database, over 90% of the models are PyTorch exclusive, and only about 8% are TensorFlow. And like a year ago, it was 85% versus 15%.
Wow.
And it's the competitive advantage of PyTorch is just getting bigger and bigger. And also me personally, I haven't used TensorFlow since 2019. So in the past 4 years, pretty much everyone in machine learning research jumped on the PyTorch bandwagon and just used it. And also just now probably a lot of people heard about OpenAI because of ChatGPT. And in January 2020, OpenAI standardized PyTorch, and they said that, okay, for all our project, we will only use PyTorch. And I think now, because we are very, very near to PyTorch 2.0, which will be released in a couple of days. Now it's available as a release candidate version, but not a stable version. But when PyTorch 2.0 becomes stable, I think it will just erase TensorFlow from the machine learning scene, and everyone will just use PyTorch.
All right. So I really like your motto, and that's why we also used it for this session. We teach machines to create outstanding experiences. So could you tell us more about your project, Tengr.ai, your company?
Yes, I think the motto summarizes our vision of how should we use machine learning, what's the end goal, and I believe that the best possible use for humankind, for all AI solutions, is to make people's lives easier. And because at the moment we mostly use machine learning in virtual environments, and we are trying to do machine learning in order to improve the user experience of those environments. And also this means that the machine learning models we create will have interfaces, connection points, which will be easier to use for humans. And I think that the key of the future lies in teaching the machines to become friendlier to humans, as sci-fi as it sounds, because we are not about to just remove humans from the equations. We are definitely not creating military-grade AI to kill humans. Instead, we want to make people's lives easier with AI. And this is just a one-sentence summary to build success with AI.
So I also saw on your website that you have listed World AI, UX AI consulting services, and Image AI. Could you tell us more about these features?
Oh, absolutely. Image AI is the one we are closest to releasing it publicly in a closed beta on the 20th of April. That will be tryable to everyone. And hopefully we can create a product out of this based on the hopeful success of the closed beta. But this is almost done. We are just productizing it, but the learning bit has been almost entirely complete now. But this is just the beginning, and used to show that AI can solve many problems. But I think there are other problems which are well, Image AI is a problem that in a shape or form was solved by Midjourney, by the OpenAI's DALL-E 2. We will solve it differently. It will be multi-language. It will follow different path. It will hopefully be better, and hopefully people can confirm that it's better for their purposes. But ultimately, it's just one problem. The other problem where I haven't seen that many solutions, at least not publicly, is what I call the web AI, which means that instead of developing websites manually, we could hand it over to AI. And developing a website means three different things, really. One of the things is generating imagery and design for the website, which is just a derivative from Image AI. But then there is also text generation, which is also solved to a degree by the large language models, such as the coming GPT-4, for instance, which should be released very soon by OpenAI. But also there is the bit where you put everything together, and also you create a code around it so it runs as a website. So the end goal is that you prompt the machine to create a website for you based on your needs or your business's needs. So that's web AI. And Word AI is also a derivative from Image AI, because Image AI is mainly two-dimensional, but based on our early experiments, it's possible to create 3D assets. And seemingly, artificial intelligence can help us with augmented reality, virtual reality applications, entire world building, 3D assets, or in the probably further away future, it can even create a whole game probably based on Unreal Engine 5 or some other engine by creating most of those assets. So it means that it can create a map for a game, or it can create the textures for different objects in a 3D world. And we are not very far from there. The only roadblock is the learning capacity, which is quite expensive at the moment to have the NVIDIA A100 GPUs in a DGX server. That's quite costly. So that's why we are rushing Image AI a bit to put it in front of investors and put it in out to the world to be able to subscribe, and through that we hope to get a stream of income, and then we can focus on reinvesting that income into well, mostly hardware, and also paying the software engineers we employ, and then we can achieve the moonshot projects such as the web AI or the world AI, where we could really stand out and create something amazing, I hope, and hopefully for the good of everyone, because who doesn't want websites for a really small amount of money instead of paying hundreds, if not thousands of euros for a web designer company? We could just generate it with AI. So imagine how cool that would be.
Yeah, it's a very cool asset, and also very innovative asset. And I hope that the investors are listening here and are sending you emails. So let's dive into the question Daniel has almost raised on in the comments section. By the way, Daniel, I look forward to seeing you in Prague. So what is machine learning and how does it relate to AI?
Machine learning is a subset or subfield of AI, because AI is a very broad term. AI applies to so many things today, and it became such a marketing buzzword that it's almost empty of real meaning. Instead, machine learning is something more tangible, something that you can research, and machine learning as a science means, especially now with an even stricter subset of deep learning, it means using a deep neural network to learn from a data set, and by learn, we can define learning as the decrease of the error. We always try to minimize the error function. And this is very similar to how humans learn, because a child learns that, let's say, something is hot by either touching it and feeling its heat, or by someone telling the child that, okay, you shouldn't touch that fire or whatever, the candle, because it's hot. And by that knowledge, it becomes more aware, and then it can perform their function. And the same thing is true for AI. The AI learns in machine learning because it wants to minimize an error function. And now we reach something that's tangible, not just a marketing buzzword, but something that can be improved, that can be touched as an academia subject. So that's why most people prefer machine learning when it comes to scientific discussions, to something as broad and generic as AI.
All right, so it's also related to deep learning, or it's a totally different thing?
Yeah, it is. So that's what I'm saying, that deep learning is a subset of machine learning, where you are using deep neural networks. And today, I would say almost all applications of machine learning are of deep learning. So I couldn't think of any commercial machine learning application that's not deep learning in 2023, because we have access to GPU clouds where you can use deep neural networks.
All right. So what are neural networks?
Neural networks are a concept quite old, to be honest, and they were proposed by scientists decades ago to solve many problems. And the basic idea is that you have a virtual neuron, which is similar to how a neuron in a human brain cell works. So in machine learning, those neurons work in a way that they get some data, and then they do some calculation on it, and then they pass the result to another such neuron. And at the end of the line, somewhere, there is an output, because you do something. For example, you want to create a neural network to predict the stock market, which is a very hot topic, especially with stock market crashes like we have seen yesterday. Now it's also again a debated topic, and for that you would put a lot of those virtual neurons, sort of creating like a virtual brain, and then you would give things to learn. In this case, you would give it past data from the stock exchanges, like how different monikers performed in the stock market in the past years based on different events or whatnot. And then you wouldn't give all the data. You would, let's say, give 70% of the data and use 15% for training and 15% for validations. That's the usual split. And this means that there is data which is not used for learning. This is new data which the model didn't see, but we of course know because it's all historical data. And then we asked the neural network to predict the outcome, and then the neural network would just put the input information through all those virtual neurons, and the output would be some numbers, and then hopefully those numbers will be close to what we expect. But if it's not close, and at the beginning of the learning cycles it's very, very far, it's almost random, then there is a term called the backpropagation of errors, where we see that of course the prediction is not accurate. The stock didn't perform as expected by the network, but we know how it performed because it's historical data, and it goes back. And we tell the neural network to adjust itself, and it adjusts itself by changing the weights and biases on each virtual neuron, and then it goes again. And we, of course, do it millions, if not billions of times, until the predictions on historical data are quite accurate. And then we hope that it will do the same on the real world, and then we put it out in the wild, and we see that it trades quite well, and of course it can do millions of actions in milliseconds. But also we can see that as they always say in stock exchange, past performance is no indication of future performance. It's not 100% accurate, and sometimes it can also make huge errors costing millions, like it was true in the past. But then again, the usual stock traders on the floor can also make huge errors, so there's nothing new here. It will not see the future, but it can predict seemingly better than humans. So that's it. It's the same way as the human stock traders have their human brain cells in their brain. The machine learning solution has those virtual neurons.
All right. So I see the experts from the next session already popping up, and we have about 7 minutes left. We will extend 5 minutes, so we will start. They can start in 7 minutes, and they will be talking about the investment sphere, and they will be talking about crypto and the scandals that are going on around the world. But I have a question which is very it's a burning question for me, and I researched it. I want to hear it from you. So why is image recognition a key function of AI?
Well, in this, I would say it's not such a key thing, but it's it's a key in selling AI and making decision makers understand AI. There it is key, but there is a very good machine learning researcher at the Budapest Technological University, the so-called Műszaki Egyetem, and he's also the dean of the university. Sharaf Hassan is his name, and he always says that all data is essentially the same. So for a machine learning researcher, it doesn't really matter that much if you are working on image recognition, sound recognition, on creating a large language model, or creating a stock trading model or whatever, because data is data, and deep neural networks are just that. And of course, the architecture will vary and you need to adjust, but it's similar to a software developer. It doesn't really matter that much if you are creating a game or an accounting software. You still need to learn how to program. You need to learn the core concepts. But what's good in image recognition is that in the past, it was taught as the pinnacle of machine learning because old-time procedural programming can't really solve that. So it's not possible to solve image recognition with, let's say, ifs and whiles and things from procedural programming. It's just not possible. You need some sort of learning, and it's very hard to fake. A few years ago, people used to joke that most AI is in the form of PowerPoint presentations, not in Python code. And today, fortunately, the market evolved, and people, the investors evolved beyond that. So no, you can't really fool an investor with some PowerPoint presentation without any actual code behind. But a few years ago that was true, and image recognition is very hard to fake. And also by solving image recognition, researchers learned skills, solutions, different optimizers were created at big companies like Google or Facebook, but also at big universities. And that's one thing. And the other thing is that people always want to create something helpful. And one of the problems with which I'm not an expert in medicine, but to my understanding, is that one of the problems was that X-ray images or MRI images or whatever medical imagery was created was really hard for humans to understand. Even trained medical professionals with 20 plus years of training had a hard time understanding those images. So this is something that if we solve image recognition, we could immediately improve healthcare and thus immediately improve the life of humans. And most researchers, including myself and hopefully most others, don't create AI to just kill people. Instead, we want to make human life better, save people, identify things like tumors or whatever. And in here, image recognition is key.
All right. So what are the most common misunderstandings when it comes to AI?
I think the most common misunderstandings are coming from sci-fi movies. I think the worst is that AI is somehow here to kill us, like from the Terminator or whatever movie you can think of. Of course, AI doesn't have an intention. But it's also to the other way around. So because AI is at the moment not self-aware, it doesn't see the world as we see it. It can be just as easily be used in a targeting system, in a missile or some drone assassinating people. Then it can be used to identify brain tumor cells. So for the AI, it doesn't matter. It's in the hand of the human who uses either for evil or for good. So every use case ultimately depends on us humans. It's not because the AI wants to drive that missile or whatever. The AI only wants to minimize an error function. That's all it ever does. It never has evil intentions unless we make it so. That's the biggest. The second biggest is that people think that AI would make the world a much worse place, because AI could lead to spikes in unemployment. It could steal people's jobs, because there are lots and lots of jobs that even today the AI can do better than the human counterpart, and most of the time also much cheaper. And pretty much all repetitive jobs fall into this category, but as we can see with things like art creation AI and poetry creation AI or book writing AI, even jobs which were deemed as creative jobs, they're also becoming doable by AI. So I think that there is a justified fear in humanity. But I also believe that it's the opposite. It will make everyone's life easier, because if AI can create a lot of value, it enables people to do what they really love and not be stuck in jobs they hate. And also by creating excess wealth, that excess wealth can be used to create a better life for everyone, either in form of a universal basic income, but also in form of creating opportunities for everyone, equal opportunities without bias, including better policy making when AI is involved, and lots of areas. And I think that all inventions, all great achievements of humankind ultimately led to humans' lives being better. And this includes electricity, the steam engine, whatever you can think of. Ultimately, it made life easier. And I think this will be true with AI. So it wouldn't make the world a worse place. I think it would make a world a better place. But this is also something that depends on us people, not the AI itself, because AI is just a technology, just like electricity or the steam engine.
All right. So I think these are some great parting words. And I thank you, Péter, for your time. Unfortunately, we ran out of it. So thank you for your time, Péter, and look forward to our next episode together someday, because we're definitely going to have another one.
Thank you for joining. Be sure to check back next week for the next HIPTHER Talks, and subscribe on Amazon Music, Overcast, Spotify, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, Mixcloud, and Pandora.